Hello, beautiful moms and entrepreneurs. This is a place where we come together to learn, grow, and inspire. So sit back, relax, and let's get started. Hello, Unbreakable Mompreneurs. Today, I am here with Karen Coffey, and she has an amazing story. I'm going to actually let her tell her story, but she's gone from being homeless and a single mom to multimillion-dollar coaching industry. So Karen, why don't you introduce yourself to us?
Okay, great. It's really good to be here, Charisse. I love what you're doing for moms. I love the passion and the mission that you have. But yeah, I'm Karen Coffey. I am a two-time Inc. 500 award winner for building. I really went from homeless single mom to building a multi-million-dollar coaching company. We won it 2 years in a row. But yeah, I don't know what else to say other than there are certain things that I really feel a businesswoman and a mom should do. And I say should. I really think you should, because as I was in the fetal position, losing everything that I had, literally my home, my cars, my son and I were living on the sofas of friends that they were feeding us because we had no money in the downturn of, I think it was 08, 09, 10, and 11. And I just couldn't pivot enough to get a job. And if anybody was around, people were losing their houses left and right during that time.
Yep, no, that's true. And so I think for me, that's a hard thing. I was having a conversation because I just had a big milestone birthday, and my parents came in and surprised me. And so yesterday was like a 4-hour round trip driving because of all the clients that I was going to meet. And so they came with me. And so we had lots of time to talk. And we were discussing the topics about money and how my parents, like I have a business adventure that I would love their help with. And so we're kind of talking about that. But in the back of my mind, I thought my parents are retired and they're in the stages of life where they should just be enjoying life. And they are, right?
Yeah.
But money is something where they are still reliant and making sure that they have their income coming in. And it's not like they're doing without, they're well off, but at the same time, that is a stress for them. Their house isn't paid off, and because we move so many different times. And so how do you get past that mindset? Because I think that that's still a mindset for many people, that I don't deserve that money, or I'm homeless, right? So how am I ever going to be making $1 million or more than that? So how did you make that shift?
Yeah. My journey may not be like most people's. When you are knocked that hard, like I'm not in that category of your parents, right? They're retired, they still have worries.
Mm-hmm.
I was in a category of losing everything. And I was no longer, my mother died during that time. My husband and I got divorced. So I had no solid foundation. And for me, the humility of it all put me in a place of total surrender to life, to God, I obviously had made a mess of things.
Yeah.
And so again, I don't think that your parents are in that place, but it doesn't matter. When we have these debts hanging over us, there's obviously that propensity to just worry and strive and go after, how am I going to pay these things? Life is not easy for me. Things are more expensive now than they ever have been. Housing prices and groceries and all this crazy stuff. And it is a real worry. And I was asking myself that same thing a couple of days ago. And I was like, so where's the mindset? Where do we need to be in our mindset? For me, it is, I am taken care of. It is a mindset and belief and surety that I am taken care of by a God that loves me. And I'm not going to preach, but I am a woman of faith. And I have to be, in order to have, when I was that homeless single mother, not knowing what dinner we were going to have, if we were going to do onions or celery with our ramen noodles, literally. And I had to become where I wasn't before, fully surrendered, and really bought into the idea that when I'm left alone to do it myself, I don't do the best job, that I need to partner. I don't want to be alone. Now, for some women, we're like, I don't want to be alone. I need a man. I want a man to provide for me. And it was very clear that my life was not working out that way, that there was not going to be a man to save me. It was not going to be my dad who had passed away. And it had to be a complete and thorough faith and understanding that God's still on the throne, that I don't have to worry about every little thing, that it doesn't look good on paper. Maybe our debts don't look good on paper. We don't make enough money at the end of the month. But there are some things, and we can talk about that, that we can do to make sure that we are in a place of peace around it. So I hope that opened.
Yeah, and I want to take it a different direction for a minute and
Yeah.
digress, because the thought of, okay, we're eating ramen noodles, which by the way, if my daughters could, they'd love that. And I'm like,
they would eat those all the time, right?
The health factor of that. Let's not talk about that, right? And so, but celery or onions, like I can't imagine having to go through that. And so that's a scary place. And so with your son, how did you parent him? Like, I think right now, so many kids, because we're in a time of abundance, that they don't really appreciate what they have, and they take advantage of the things. And there's a lot of spoiled kids out there that are lazy, and they don't want to get a job, and they don't want to do this, they don't want to do that, because they don't want to have to work. And so how do you feel like that impacted your son?
Wow, it really impacted him. And I believe that it was a character builder. I mean, nobody wants to go through that, and I don't want anybody to have to go through that. But when you strip it away, and there's no other option, I can't buy you that toy. I cannot buy you that PlayStation. There's no yes in there anywhere. It affected him in creating such a strong work ethic today. He was 10 years old, but, he was 14 when he decided, I'm going to go live with dad, which was another heartbreak in my life. It was just like, oh my God,
your son too. Yeah.
I must be the worst mother in the world for my son to want to live, because every child lives with their mother, except for me, right? So fast forward, he now works at the House of Representatives in the state of Tennessee as a legislative assistant, and he just graduated college, and he is just a hard worker, and he doesn't take anything for granted. I can tell he is very thankful. So, I don't know how that translates. I don't want anybody to be homeless, but I think that, to your point, we need to really just bring it back a little bit, this spending and giving and everything. And I'm not trying to be mean, but I do think that it makes a difference in the character that they have when they get into the workforce in the world. Like, they'll want to work, because if you don't, you're not getting anything. Yeah. So
I agree with that, because my dad, I mean, if you heard his story, it's a heart-wrenching story. And so we grew up with always thinking the poverty mentality, because and it's a sad kind of situation, but it makes you grateful. And the work ethic you have, it's like, you know what, I got to pull up the bootstraps and get to work.
That's right.
These kids just think the money comes off the trees. And so I think that we as parents, we owe it to our kids to say, you're going to have to earn this. And you have to see what it's like, not that you need to experience homelessness.
And they don't need to have this poverty mentality all their life. Luckily, we live in this world of online education and personal development and all of these ways. It's like, let me build your character. You raise a child, and he will grow up in the ways that you've taught him, and then you can instill, look, it doesn't mean that it's this way forever. There are things, but there are certain things that you need to do to make sure that you're successful, that you have a great ethic in the workforce.
Okay, so now let's bring it back to business, because I had to digress to the momhood side. What are those things that you need?
Those things
successful that you had mentioned.
So let me tell you what I learned. I can only share what I've learned. And I followed every guru out there, and nothing worked for me, because here I am homeless, but my phone still works. So I'm listening, and I'm desperate. And it was about a year before I got, I guess, some footing. And in that humility, the only place that I had to go, because I wasn't really living this faith life, was on my knees, because you become very humble very quickly when you lose everything, and any ego you had is out the window, and your husband and you break up, your mother's gone, the whole thing, your son leaves, you have no identity. You're not a mother, you're not a sister, you're not nothing. And so I began just getting on my knees and actually spending time listening to this higher wisdom. You call it God. I call it God. I call it Holy Spirit. Other people call it other things, but I know for me, it is God and Holy Spirit, that I would just say, what is one thing? Just one thing. I am desperate. I need you more now than I've ever needed you. And just give me one thing to do today. And I'm not saying that God speaks in this loud,
Wow.
booming voice, but we do get impressions. We get thoughts. We get feelings or this knowing. And whatever that one thing was, Charisse, I committed to doing it, even if it was weird. Like reach out to
Wow.
Bob, and Bob didn't, I don't want to reach out to Bob, don't make me do that. Yeah, there's some weird ones. There's some weird ones. And it's almost like a test of your own faith. Will I do nothing crazy, but like I wrote a letter to one of my best friend's mothers one time because I'm like, no, this has nothing to do with business, but it had everything to do with faithfulness. And that's where the blessing comes. And that's where the faith comes. So anyway, at the end of the year, you've got 365 steps to success in your life because of just asking that one question every day. And I would pray and I would ask, even if I got it wrong. What if I got it wrong? What if you ask and you get it wrong?
Yeah.
Nothing bad's going to happen. At least you were faithful. So bringing it back to business, that allowed me to walk in. So my mother passed and she left me with $8,000. That's all she had. And I bought a clunker car because remember, I didn't have one. And I got my real estate license in a town I didn't know anybody. And I made long story short, $100,000 in the first 100 days. I walked in, I said exactly what God told me to say. I'm going to build a team. Give me your brokenhearted and downhearted agents. I'm going to make them successful for you. That was not me saying that. I didn't know how. So I went home and I'm like, okay, Lord, how? How am I going to do this? And it worked out. And then people started asking me to coach them. These are the cliff notes in real estate. And that's when I launched Karen Coffey Coaching, and we did business people and residential real estate agents. Yeah.
Oh my gosh, that is so amazing and so cool because I'm a real estate agent myself. And so I think that's the amazing part of it is that you followed what your gut, you followed your intuition, you followed,
Yes.
people can call it that. You followed who you were being told what to do.
Yeah, but it's gut, it's intuition, it's those nuances, it's being very sensitive to what's right and wrong or what's my next best steps.
Right. I
Yeah.
love that. That is so cool. And I think that in a previous podcast, I kind of mentioned real quick that she talks about praying for people, and that's the business that she did. And I just feel like right now in a time where it seems like God's been taken out of so much. And if we can bring him back in and really listen to what he has to say, because I personally believe we're all put here to accomplish a mission on this earth. Yeah. If we choose to listen and accept that mission.
If you choose to accept this mission.
Exactly. I was trying not to, yes, exactly what I was trying to say. But I really, if you don't do those things that you're supposed to be doing, God's going to have to find somebody else to do it. And that's something that's really resonated with me the last couple of years, because do I keep going real estate? Do my lending? Do I take care of the book that I just wrote? Do I? There's like 5 different ways I could go. And sometimes you get stuck, like, okay, which way? And I was talking with someone several years ago. He's like, Charisse, just take a step. Yeah. You can pivot later, but just do it. And I think that a lot of times we as women, we want to be the pleaser, especially as a mom, our jobs and our duties to our children. And we have to make sure that our kids are doing well. But if they don't watch you pursue your passion, how are you going to expect them to do that either?
Right. They're caught in the same trap that we've been caught in. And that's exchanging dollars for hours. I have a job, I work this job, I get a paycheck. I have a business, I charge per hour. And that was one of the things I learned early on, that always charge for an outcome, and you were put on this earth with gifts, everyone gifts and certain skills and talents. And what is that? And that's what allowed, so we've done a pivot in the last year where we started something called spirit-led business. Back to your point of praying for businesses, bringing God back into it. It's like, how do we partner? How do I listen? I mean, this is not natural to us, but we were built for it.
Yeah.
Creator did build us to communicate. And so one of the things like we do about once a quarter is we do this workshop where we're like, what are you called to do? Life leaves clues.
Yeah.
God left clues. And there's like, what's this, and what comes out, I put it in a funnel. And what comes out of that is exactly what you're called to do. And we bring it before all of our members in this group that I created, and we call it the Spirit-Led Board of Directors. And so you bring it and you go, okay, this is what I got. This is what's in my funnel. These are my traumas. This is my skills, my happy place, all these things. And then they listen. We say a prayer and everyone's listening for that gut intuition. And they will mirror back to you what you can't see, the obvious. Well, this is what you're called to do. It's right there. And they can see it so clearly. And so, yeah, you're absolutely right. We are called. And now's I believe now, more than ever, is our time that we need to really help each other.
Because we need that. You know, you saw a country that was broken and split for so long. And I really, not getting political because I'm not going to.
Sure, I know. Yeah.
But it's very interesting how you have the media that portrayed a certain person was going to win, no doubt, 100%.
Yeah, 100%. Right.
And you have this popular vote and the electoral vote, which was the landslide, like the 6
couldn't believe it.
States that said, you know, absolutely, this is probably going to sway this way. And it was completely the other way.
Right.
And it's just interesting to see such a dichotomy. It's word, but the difference that you think the world's going this way, and it's like, oh no, everyone's, and granted, it was still almost 50%, right?
Yes.
148. It was still really close, but it's such a shift and division. And I just like, if we can just get back. And what I like is the billboards when you're driving down the road and you have the red hand and the blue hand and they're shaking hands. Have you seen that?
I haven't. I love that though. Nice. Yeah.
Let's
and it turns into a purple hand.
Yeah. You know, and I think that's everyone's entitled to their own beliefs, their own opinions, but why can't we have a conversation about it? Why do we have to be such, well, I can't talk to you if you don't agree?
Right. And I believe it, we are so disconnected from each other and from our source, really. I think we're just so, I'm not getting real spiritual here, but I'm just saying, for me, I find that I get snippy, I get aggravated, I get impatient with other people if I don't take a very committed time to sit and remember who I am, what I'm doing, what I'm here to do. And the great thing is that's fun. When you're doing what you're called to do and you just have fun, there's no stress about it. It's like, oh, this is the best day ever because I get to do what I'm called to do.
Because you're in alignment with what you know you're supposed to do.
Yes. Like your soul, your spirit, everything is in.
Absolutely. Yeah. And, you know, we could get into the religion side where I believe Satan is really trying hard to pull us away and has been successful. So
very much so that we war with, what is it? Principalities. It's not people in flesh, it's principalities. And I think that there are things that are really warring right now. And it's torn our country apart. It's torn families apart. And I hope that my goal in life is to create now an army of people that are willing in every city, town, and village that are geared towards spirit-led business, because I believe there's a movement of God in the marketplace. It's not evangelism. It's not bringing people to Jesus. It's being a decent human being and living a Christ-like life.
Yeah.
And that is what I envision now and that I'm hard after. It's like, yep, this has been great. This is awesome. We still work with agents and things like that, but our pivot is spirit-led business.
I think that that's so good, because if you look at Christ's life and you study Christ, the people he never should have talked to are the ones that he sought out.
Absolutely. And,
And
and Christians, I think we're scared. We're like, oh, I don't know. Well, you're fine if you know who you are and
yeah,
whose you are. You're not scared to talk with those people, and it's totally, totally okay. Yeah,
that's
I
great.
love that.
It's fantastic. Okay, so with your own business, because let's talk,
Mhm.
you've built one very successful business and now you're building another one or have built that second one.
Yeah.
What are some of the things that people who are scaling their business need to know to, like, they're doing well, they're making six
Mhm.
figures, but now they want to make seven. What are some of the suggestions you have for them?
Yeah, one of the biggest ones that I found is that most business owners are the bottleneck to scaling,
Yeah.
that they want to have their fingers, that they can't hire the talent that they need, the high level people that they need. I have a motto called leverage is life. And leverage means that you get to live a life and you don't have to be in the details
Mhm.
because you have trusted again to
Mhm.
hire and find those people that they're just gifted at these things. We as business owners can't do it all. If you do, you are going to lose and you're going to hurt and
Yeah.
your family's going to hurt,
Mhm.
right? You're nodding your head. So I know
Mhm.
there is no badge at the end of life when you work 50 hours a week or 60 or more saying, oh, she was such a good worker. Oh, I mean, it's just not.
It,
So I would say definitely if you already have an established business, start looking at those positions you can leverage, the things that, come on, you don't need to be answering the phone or doing your own email or do even marketing or sales. Leverage those things and go to Italy for a month. Go to Disney World for a week. Take your family. Leave them in charge. Hire well, train even better, and then leave them to own what it is that you've given them to do and let them fail forward.
Mhm.
Would be for established. Now, if someone's new, brand new in the business, and it could be online, it could be hyper local, it could be like real estate, insurance, or it could be online coaching, whatever it is. Maybe, yeah, you're building that. Business owners don't want to hear this because it's not fun. But the best thing that you can do is create a data bank. And I call it data bank because it's money that you're going to be able to withdraw. And it's the people you've met, the people you know, and building that relationship, going the extra mile,
Mhm.
differentiating yourself with all the people. Now, I moved to a place where I didn't know anybody when I was lost everything, got
Mhm.
that license, and I moved where I didn't know anybody. So I started meeting builders and business owners so that I could get in relationship with their doors were wide open.
Mhm.
Hey, are you the manager, the owner? And I got in a relationship with them and then started really making sure that I nurtured them and took care of them as I was building,
Mhm.
because they are forever clients. They're not a one and done. We're not in the place of transactional relationships anymore. So they're not a one and done. They should be a customer for life. And how are you going to keep them in your circle
Mhm.
for the majority of that? Online marketing was a big part of our growth.
Mhm.
So depending on what business you have, I believe that hyper local marketing is still hot on your social media
Yeah.
outlets. So making sure that you're doing that in
Mhm.
the hyper local area. When you get to national and international levels, your competition is huge. And so it just isn't working like it used to. So there has to be something else that you're giving. For our coaches, we certify coaches. And for our coaches, we hold their hand for like 4 months, teaching them exactly how, like what's first, second, third, fourth, fifth, so that they can actually just really step into a super successful business and not be struggling. My heart is that men and women never have to struggle. I don't ever want to see anyone struggle like I did.
Yeah.
So yeah, I make sure I hold their hand until yeah, they
That's,
get their six figures.
but see, because you know how it feels, and that's the integrity
Oh,
as well. We've talked about people who as coaches, they just want your money and they'll give you. But as soon as you're like, hey, you know what, even if it's been 5 years that you've been coaching with them, as soon as you say, you know what, it's been 5 years, I'm kind of hearing the same thing over and over. It's like, hey, you're out next. And that
Yeah.
me, I could never imagine. Like I just had a huge 50th birthday party and
Oh, you don't look it.
oh, you're sweet. But most of my clients, well, I wouldn't say most, but a lot of my clients I invited to my party because
Yes.
they're my family. They're not
Yes.
my clients anymore. And just to the joy that I had when they came, and
Oh,
that meant the world to me. And so it's like, yeah, the transaction was done, some of them a couple of years ago, but I still
yeah.
keep in contact with them. I still have a relationship with them. And I think that that's the part that you have to decide how you want to run your business.
Mhm.
But if it's a transaction business, it's going to not be as good. In
No, exactly. You treat them like a human being. You're not treating them like a paycheck.
your
And
money.
that's a big difference.
Yeah,
Yeah.
there's a huge difference.
And you're right. We stay with them long. We just like you're paid, but you don't stop until you gain the success.
Right.
Now, if it's on you, if you like don't do the work, there's
Exactly. Oh
nothing I
yeah.
can do. But if you do the work and you're showing up, we don't say, oh, well, it was a 3-month program. Bye-bye.
Yeah.
It's like, no, let's hold your hand until you do get that success.
Yeah. So if you
It's
promise,
important.
yeah, I was going to give you a real life example, but I won't. I'm trying to get over the bitterness I have for a coach I hired.
Oh,
But because it is like they make this outrageous promise and we're going to hold your hand every step of the way. And then
oh, yeah. Yep.
where's my hand?
Yeah.
I just
I'm
paid
not
for my
feeling it here.
Yeah.
Oh, tell names, please. No, I'm kidding.
No,
I would
never.
hate that. No, that's horrible.
Because the people I truly believe at heart, everyone, like they don't wake up in the morning saying, how can I swindle people out of
No.
$25,000? Like I do believe that. I want to believe the
Yeah.
best, but wow,
Yeah. You couldn't believe it, could you? You're like, wow,
Mhm.
that's crazy.
So, what have I not asked you that you wish I would have?
Wow. I don't know. Let's say we've talked about different things that I would suggest
Mhm.
in starting. I can't think of one, Charisse. I can't.
I kind of went like this and it was a quick 30 minutes. So it's like, wow.
Gosh, that was.
Yeah.
Um, yeah, for your mom, because you do have such a following as far as mompreneurs and those that you've got kids, you've got balance. And how do you balance life with littles and life with kids? And I would say for me, I don't know why I'm saying this, but I think somebody needs to hear it, is that I only had a window of opportunity to work
Mhm.
when my son was young. And so taking that opportunity and making sure you're super diligent about the specific things you were doing in that time. You can't afford to be willy-nilly and all over the place and like, well, maybe I'll do a social media post and then 2 hours go by and you're still in social media. You've got to draw the lines, have the boundaries, and really know what it is you need to do specifically within that time frame.
Mhm.
If you're a mom, or even if you just have another job and you're trying to launch something and it's, you've got a window of part-time hours
Yeah.
that you have. And then as soon as you possibly can, get your first assistant, even if it's part-time, 5 hours a week, 10 hours a week, to
Mhm.
do some of just to skim off the stuff that really just suck you in
Yeah.
so that you can do what you do best. And that's connect with other people.
Amen to that one.
Yeah.
That is so true. There's been a few times where I'm like, why am I doing this? I do not have time. I need to focus on this. And so it's like, okay, who do I know and who can I?
Yes.
So,
And
yeah.
it's usually not the girl next door. It's usually
Oh,
somebody that is very organized, that's their gift. And they love organizing. And you're
yeah.
like, organize me.
Well, thank you so much for being on.
Oh,
I really do appreciate it.
yes, you're welcome. And I do have a gift for your listeners if you want to give them something.
Yes, please do.
Yeah. Okay. So if you go to our website, spiritledbusiness.org, so it's
Mhm.
spiritledbusiness.org, and you go on that website, it is a membership where we actually have a training every Tuesday.
Mhm.
This is a $500 a year thing. And for your listeners, I would love to give you a code that they can plug in and it won't cost them anything.
Oh, wow.
That they're in it for the entire year and they don't have to pay anything. And the code is SLB, just like Spirit-Led Business, but SLB, no space, none, 2024. So I would just love for them, welcome them in and have them be a part of what we're doing. If they don't like it, they don't ever have to show up. But if they love it, they're going to get so much out of it, so much success.
That is really generous. Thank you so much for that.
You're welcome. Thank you for having me on.
And they can, if they want to go more with you, then just go to the spiritledbusiness.org and that's it.
Spiritledbusiness.org, and they can just contact us, or they can just email me, Karen at spiritledbusiness.org.
Okay. Thank you.
We're happy to talk with them. Thank you. It's been a pleasure.
Well, Unbreakable Moms, you can do it is the phrase that I want you to think about, that you do have a purpose, you do have a mission. And yes, being a mom is one of those things, absolutely. But if you have this kind of idea in the back of your mind that you should be doing something else, or specifically something that you know, then take a step and take another step and figure that out. Because like Karen, she is very successful in where she is because she listened. So thank you. Go out and make it a great day. Beautiful moms, remember, you are unbreakable. Keep illuminating the world with your strength, pursuing your dreams, and reveling in the splendor of motherhood. This is Charisse Walker, bidding you farewell for now. Stay tuned for more empowering conversations on the next episode of the Unbreakable Mompreneurs podcast. Until then, keep shining bright. Signing off with love, Charisse Walker.